Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. Hi, I'm Joe Mishka. Welcome to another episode of Rural Heritage TV. Today we're going back to Heritage Park in Manning, Iowa to look at the historic Trinity Church and the Freedom Rock located there. We'll also look around the conference center on the grounds, which is designed to handle events both big and small. The church was originally built in 1913 by a German immigrant congregation at a spot about 11 miles south of Manning. When it closed in 2006 due to declining membership, it was moved to Heritage Park, where it is used for tours and special events such as weddings. The Freedom Rock was installed and painted in 2014 and features images of railroad trestle guards, an American bald eagle, a tribute to first responders, and all branches of the military. As in earlier episodes about Heritage Park, we're grateful to have Tim Wiebel as our tour guide. His knowledge of the park and its many attractions is matched only by his enthusiasm in telling their stories.
This is becoming one of the most photographed buildings in southwest Iowa. It's a 90-foot tall steeple. It's a 110-ton structure, and it was moved intact from Gray, Iowa to this site in 2006, and they didn't break a window. This was the size of the congregation in 1884, and they had just built the building behind them to have a church service indoors. Mm-hmm. They quickly outgrew this church and rebuilt one of the size of this church, but that church was destroyed by a tornado in 1913. The only thing that survived was this altar. The parents would hand each of their children a coin, and then those children would try to roll that coin as far as they could down this decline. When they were all done, they would go retrieve their coin, and the family and their children would sit in a pew. There's no names on these pews, but you can be assured that they had a family pew that they would sit in every time they came to church. That little contest had a twofold purpose. One, it taught the children the importance of giving, because that was the coin they would put in the collection plate. But it also made it fun for the children to come to church. Right. German language was spoken as the first language for the people around Gray, Iowa as well. So the sermons were in German. This is very unique to be able to walk down into a church. It makes for wonderful acoustics, and it's one of the reasons why this is the favorite part of my tour, because I can talk in a normal voice and it carries all the way to the back. That was helpful because there were no microphones 100 years ago. So the preacher could be in this pulpit and be clearly heard throughout the entire building. Everything is original, with the exception of the acoustical tile and the fan in the ceiling and the light bars. Sure. These pews are original and have been sat in 100,000 times. The congregation had dwindled to only 10 people. Bless the hearts and souls of those people. They didn't want their church to go to the rats. It was just standing outside of Gray. They approached Heritage Park and asked them if they would take the church. They'd donate it for $1. Heritage Park board said, that's wonderful, but we can't afford to move it. We have no money for that. Those 10 people raised over $100,000 to preserve their church and have it relocated to this site. That's the emotional connection that they had to this church. They didn't tape off any of the windows. They didn't even need to lower the altar. The gentleman in charge of the move, the engineer, said he could put a glass of wine on the altar and it will still be there when they're done. They didn't go more than 4 miles an hour in their trek to get here. Gray, Iowa is 7 miles away, but it took more than 10 miles to find roads and bridges strong enough to support the weight of this.
Sure.
There was a chainsaw group that went through ahead of time to cut back tree limbs so they could fit the church through where they needed to go. There was also a power line crew, because you can't fit a 90-foot tall steeple.
It went with the steeple?
Yes.
Wow.
Intact.
Wow. So the power line crew would take the wires down and then put them back up after they went through?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. What a project.
It was such a big deal that the History Channel came out and made a documentary of the move.
That's terrific.
They even hired a songwriter to write a song to dedicate the move, and people from church choirs in Manning drove to Omaha to a recording studio, practiced and sang the song, and that song was dubbed in to the documentary during the move. The engineer was concerned that the stresses on the steeple from taking it off its pedestal where it was in gray and going downhill and then backing it in to where it sits here, that the steeple could actually separate from the rest of the building. So he crawled inside the steeple to inspect it, and he came out with a big smile on his face because he said that it was built like a Sherman tank. It might have had something to do with the congregation losing their church previous to this, to the tornado, so they overbuilt it, and that benefited us in the move here. Yeah. We're standing at the site of our Freedom Rock in Manning, Iowa. It's adjacent to our Heritage Park, where the house barn, the Leadhasser Farmstead, and the Trinity Church is. So this is actually a fourth attraction. It doesn't have a link to German heritage, but it has a strong attraction to our national heritage. There's 99 counties in Iowa. Every county has a Freedom Rock that was painted by Bubba Sorensen from Greenfield, Iowa. And he's a veteran, and he took it upon himself that this is something that he wanted to do. We owe him a lot. This Freedom Rock has been here for a long time. 2 years ago, we dedicated the Charters of Freedom, and we put it right next to our Freedom Rock. The Charters of Freedom is a replica of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. There's a gentleman from North Carolina that wants to put a Charters of Freedom replica in every state across the country. He lives in North Carolina. He has about 40 Charters of Freedom. Most of them are smattered across the eastern coast of the United States. This is the first Charters of Freedom west of the Mississippi, and it's in Manning, Iowa, next to our Freedom Rock. Vance Patterson spoke at our dedication ceremony. There were about 400 people here, and he was very impressed with Manning and the site that we had for him. He said that he usually had to ask people or twist arms to find places where he could put his Charters of Freedom. He said Manning was different. Manning found him. Ron Reichel, who's a native of Manning, discovered the Charters of Freedom and contacted Vance and said, we have the perfect site for your Charters of Freedom in Iowa. Having it adjacent to our Freedom Rock, Bubba Sorensen did his homework to repaint our rock. He noticed the Charters of Freedom adjacent to our Freedom Rock, and in his repaint, he put a red, white, and blue Liberty sign facing the Charters of Freedom that says, paraphrase, you don't know what you have until you lose it. I never thought when I was growing up that my freedom of speech would be at risk in my own country, but that's exactly where we are today. And for him to make the link facing the charters of freedom, we ask people to bring your children and bring your grandchildren and use this as a tool to teach the importance of our foundations of our country.
Right.
Bubba said this is one of the most difficult rocks he's had to paint because it has so many angles to it.
Right.
But he used those angles to his advantage with this flag. It almost looks like it's waving in the wind.
It's undulating, right? Yes, it does. Yeah, it looks great.
It's also notable that Bubba uses cremains from veterans that have passed in battle, mixes it in with the paint as a symbolic honor to those that have died.
Wow. Okay.
We're in the process of getting a roof structure to put over this to protect it so the sun doesn't deteriorate the paint so quickly. And that should be done within a year.
Heritage Park board member Ben Puck spoke with us about the pool of volunteers that come together to make Heritage Park work.
The reason why we have volunteers is to know that one person doesn't have to do all the work. Right. And I think at this time, and I think that at most times we have that in town. And life always intercedes, you know, with there are other things going on. There's other things that are precious to people's free time. And we just have enough people right now to be able to pull this off and get us to another level that is very, very important. And we sit in the back, you know, we sit in on the back door of our school. And so we've got grade school kids. We've got junior high kids. We've got high school kids coming over, and they'll actually arrange times when they can pick a few branches up. It's not very often, but boy, the help, many hands make light work of it.
Right.
And it's a wonderful way to do teaching beyond the blackboard.
Perfect.
So right now our volunteers will show up, but you know there's still the things that you don't, you know, that are not seen very well, which are we've got electrical bills, we've got insurances that need to be paid through the foundation, we got all the rest of this. At a very nominal fee, we can get you hooked up with Tim or any one of the 3 other tour guides that we have and give you a tour. It's a very, very nominal fee. It may change, so I'd rather not give you that number today.
That's fine. I'll put up the website
but
on the screen.
it's a very, very nominal number. And with that, you know, Tim does a great job. For an hour and a half, all the volunteers do. I shouldn't just pick on Tim. Always pick on Tim because, you know, he's
easy to pick on.
He's easy to pick on.
Right.
Love him to death.
Right.
But for a very nominal fee, you're going to learn a lot about something that you can take home to your own small town and learn how to apply. Because we are still reproducing out here. We still have children that need to see this, need to experience it. And whether we keep them in our community or they go someplace else to spend their life, it would be remiss not to be able to give those kids that we produce in these small communities an opportunity to succeed and to volunteer and show people what true leadership is. Leadership is really defined by doing. It's not defined by telling someone to do something. It's done through showing people how to do it.
And giving them what they need to do it.
That's right.
Right, getting out of the way.
That's right.
And you must have done that with your business, because you ran a very successful business.
Tried.
Well.
And everything is dynamic, and so everything will always change. And so the ways we do that and the ways that we segue to the next generation is brought is really, really refined by having a group of volunteers that are of various ages. And so, you know, we have the greatest generation that told you it was our way or the highway. We had us baby boomers that believed that that was the only way. And then we have, you know, all the rest of the alphabet soup generations that says, well, there's other ways to do it. Right. As soon as the baby boomers and the greatest generation decided that, yeah, they'll probably be okay, things go along pretty smooth. And so inviting volunteers of a youthful age and a volunteer of, let's say, the last of the greatest generation to sit down and talk about things, got to trust each other.
Right.
Because our entire future belongs to the people that are either not born yet or are just getting old enough to be able to understand this.
Manning veterinarian Roxanne Struve spoke with us about the conference center built on the Heritage Park grounds. Her late husband, Kurt Struve, donated his time and talents as project manager of the operation and provided a lot of the woodworking that's displayed throughout the facility.
15 months he donated his time, you know, full time during the week, and then he farmed afterwards, etc.
Right.
He didn't do it by himself. Obviously, there was a crew involved that had built several of the log homes and was well familiar with the log home builder provider. And so it was done by very experienced experts which is evident by looking at the woodwork, etc. Mm-hmm. And I kind of was in charge of the crew that did the staining, varnishing, sanding of all the wood that went on the ceiling in that place. So it was months of after work, Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, and I had a crew that would just loved to work. They were all retired except for me, and we'd get together and we just did hour after hour of staining, varnishing, restaining, varnishing, etc. So it was a group effort. Everything in Manning has been a group effort, a community effort from forever. The camaraderie of putting that thing together was amazing.
I bet it was,
And because we had such master woodworkers, like I said, it's evident in every part of it. It was a labor of love for everybody. And the fact that my husband, 15 months of his time.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes, and he was so happy when he was building that. When it got done, it was like, okay, what's our next project?
Sure, right, now what? Right,
Yes,
right,
now what?
yeah.
So it was a blessing to be a part of it, and
Great.
he would have loved it. He's passed now, so
I'm sorry.
the thing we did not get finished in that was the glockenspiel, which is still, I've taken it upon myself now to retake the ball to try to get that done, because he was gone and the project had stopped.
Sure.
And so now I'm going to see if we can't get the glockenspiel into it the way it was intended to be in the beginning.
Coming up on November 1st, 2025, the park will host its annual Plow Day, where Teamsters come to till some ground at the park. This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of Back to the Land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.